Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Valiant. He looked at the screen in front of him. An alien appeared on the display. The creature was tall and looked like an insect. Its name was Zelthrin. He was a representative from the Galactic Council. Zelthrin spoke in a cold voice. Humanity will stop all expansion beyond your home system. You must stay near Earth. Your species has grown too fast. You take too many resources. Your aggressive nature is a threat to everyone in the galaxy. Lieutenant Amy Carter sat at her station. She looked worried. Sir, they want us to destroy our colonies on Proxima and Kepler. They want our entire fleet to come back to Earth. We have 6 months to do this. Morrison felt anger building inside him. What happens if we say no? The alien's mouth parts clicked together. It looked like a smile. Then we will force you to obey. Your weapons are primitive. Our combined forces are much stronger. We have existed for thousands of years. Your species just left your planet recently. The screen went dark. The bridge became silent. Everyone looked shocked. Captain Nicole Hayes walked forward. She was Morrison's second in command. They are threatening over 40,000 people on Proxima. These are families, children, scientists who spent their whole lives building those settlements. Morrison turned to face his crew. He saw anger and fear on their faces, but he also saw determination. Get me a line to Earth, Command. The Council just made a big mistake. On Earth, President Andrew Sullivan called an emergency meeting. Admiral Richard Cole explained the situation. The Council fleet has about 12,000 ships. They have placed blockade forces at every major exit point from our system. Sullivan asked, "How long until they attack our colonies?" Cole answered, "Our intelligence says 2 weeks. Maybe less. They expect us to give up. They have done this to 6 other species in the past 100 years. All of them surrendered without fighting." Sullivan's face became hard. "Admiral, humanity did not survive ice ages and world wars just to bow to threats now." "Begin Operation Avalanche," Cole smiled. "Mr. President, it will be my pleasure." The Galactic Council did not know something important. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since first contact 15 years ago. When Earth met the alien races, the Council treated humans like children. They looked down on humanity. This set off alarm bells in Earth's military. Lieutenant Sam Walker ran Earth's intelligence division. He had spent years studying Council technology and tactics. His report was clear. The Council relies on having more ships and better technology. But their technology has not changed in 2,000 years. They have no experience fighting someone who adapts, who innovates, who refuses to give up. In secret locations throughout the solar system, humanity had been building. Hidden shipyards existed in the asteroid belt. Deep construction facilities operated on the moon. Orbital platforms were disguised with sensor nets. Humanity was not building ships to match the Council's designs. They were building weapons with one purpose: to kill. Morrison received his orders quickly. All ships moved to defensive positions. Do not fire unless fired upon, but be ready. The Council thinks we are children. Let's show them what happens when you corner a predator. The Valiant moved into position with the rest of humanity's fleet. Morrison looked at his crew. These were not born warriors. They were engineers, explorers, scientists. But they took up arms because someone threatened their home. Morrison spoke to everyone on the ship. The Council thinks we will surrender. They think fear will make us abandon our people. They think we will give up our future, our freedom. They are about to learn what every tyrant in human history learned too late. We don't kneel. We fight, the crew cheered loudly. Their voices filled with defiance. 2 days later, the first Council enforcement fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri. The alien ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 1,200 warships appeared around the planet. Each ship was a masterpiece of ancient technology. They arranged themselves to blockade the world below. On the planet's surface, Colony Director Linda Martinez watched the sky fill with alien vessels. She activated the emergency system. All colonists go to shelters now. This is not a drill. Military personnel to defensive positions. The alien commander was named Vex Thora. He opened a communication channel to the planet. Humans of Proxima, you have 12 hours to leave. We will provide transport to take you back to Earth. If you resist, we will destroy everything. The response came not from the planet. It came from space around the fleet. Council forces, this is Captain Danny Brooks of the Earth defense ship Hammer. You are in our space. Leave now or we will open fire. Vexathora felt amused. His sensors showed only a few small human ships. Captain Brooks, I count 27 of your ships. We have 1,200. Your bravery is foolish, Brooks answered calmly. 27 visible ships. You really should update your sensors. Then the trap sprang shut. Throughout the system, human stealth ships dropped their disguises. Not 27 ships appeared. 300 became visible. Each one carried weapons the Council had never seen. Railgun platforms that looked like asteroids powered up. Missile batteries hidden on moons locked onto targets. But the real surprise came from the planet itself. The civilian colony was actually a military fortress. Massive railguns emerged from underground, their barrels pointed at the Council fleet overhead. Brooks transmitted one last time. Last chance. Leave now, or we will show you why humans are the top predator on every world we have ever touched. Vexathora's pride would not let him retreat. All ships open fire, destroy them. The Council's weapons lit up space. Energy beams struck human ships. Shields failed, armor tore apart. The ship called Vigilant exploded. Another ship called Defender went dark. It vented atmosphere into space. Human losses grew quickly, but humanity had learned something the Council forgot. Evolution does not favor the strongest. It favors those who adapt. The human ships did not try to match the Council's energy weapons. Instead, they moved at speeds that shocked the aliens. The Council had abandoned using speed as a weapon thousands of years ago. They relied on shields and energy barriers instead. Captain Brooks gave the order that changed everything. All ships kinetic strike pattern fire. The railguns fired. Metal projectiles moved at a fraction of light speed. They tore through Council ships that were designed to deflect energy, not solid matter moving with massive force. A tungsten rod punched through the flagship's shields like they were not there. It entered from the front and exited from the back. The ship tore apart from the inside. Captain Kate Morrison commanded another ship called Retribution. She targeted 3 enemy destroyers quickly. Firing solution locked. Guns free. Her ship shook as the railguns fired. The rounds hit their targets. The first destroyer's shields died. The second shot went through the hull and hit the reactor. The ship exploded. The third destroyer tried to dodge, but the computer predicted where it would go. The round hit its engines. The crippled ship spun into another vessel. Within 20 minutes, the battle changed completely. Vexthora had arrived with 1,200 ships. Now he had fewer than 800. The rest were destroyed or badly damaged. The surviving ships tried desperately to reorganize. Vexathora roared at his tactical officer. What kind of barbarians fight like this? Where is their honor? Where is their respect for proper warfare? His tactical officer was younger. He pulled up human history files. Commander, humans have a saying, all is fair in love and war. Their history shows they use whatever tactics help them win. They do not care about tradition or expectations. The human missiles arrived next. These were different from Council weapons. They were simple and cheap to make. Thousands of them filled the space. The Council's defense systems were designed to stop smart weapons. They could not handle so many simple missiles. Dozens of Council ships disappeared in nuclear explosions. Vexathora finally gave the order to retreat. Fall back. Get to hyperspace jump distance. But Captain Brooks had expected this. Human ships had positioned themselves along all the exit routes. When Council ships tried to flee, they ran into more kinetic fire. The battle became a slaughter. Of the 1,200 ships that arrived, fewer than 400 escaped to hyperspace. Human losses were 37 ships destroyed and 62 damaged. On the Hammer, Captain Brooks looked at the debris field. Lieutenant Chris Palmer was his tactical officer. He looked shaken. Sir, we just defeated a Council enforcement fleet. The political consequences of this action, Brooks interrupted him, are not our problem right now. We need to prepare for their response. They will not accept this defeat. Get repair crews working day and night. We bloodied their nose. Next time they will come with everything they have. On Earth, President Sullivan received the battle reports. He felt grim satisfaction. They thought we were prey. Now they know we have teeth. Admiral Cole, begin Phase 2 of Avalanche. It is time we took the fight to them. Thousands of light years away, panic filled the Council chambers for the first time in generations. The humans were not supposed to fight back. They certainly were not supposed to win. The Galactic Council gathered for an emergency session. Their Grand Chamber held representatives from 47 different species, Each one was used to order and hierarchy. They were certain of their superiority. Today that certainty shattered. Supreme Chancellor Mordak addressed the assembly. He was a being made of crystal with pulsing light for communication. The human victory at Proxima was luck. We underestimated their willingness to die and their crude weapons. This will not happen again. Ambassador Kyleth of the Vryn Collective raised a tentacle in objection. His species had ruled their sector for 3,000 years. Supreme Chancellor, perhaps we should reconsider. The humans are more dangerous than we thought. Maybe we should try diplomatic talks. Mordak's light flared angry red. That is weakness. We have maintained order in this galaxy for thousands of years. If we back down from these primitive creatures, every species will question our authority. We will gather the Grand Fleet and crush humanity once and for all. The Council did not know something crucial. Lieutenant Sam Walker's intelligence network had broken into their communications. Every word of their debate was sent in real time to Earth Command. Admiral Cole listened to the Council's discussion like a chess player watching his opponent make a fatal mistake. They are going to commit everything to one big battle. They still do not understand what they are facing. General Patrick Hayes commanded Earth's ground forces. He studied the tactical displays. Where do you think they will attack? Cole answered without hesitation. Earth itself. They will want to kill our leaders and force us to surrender. This is standard Council procedure against resistant species. They have done it before, always successfully. Dr. Lisa Chen was Earth's chief weapons researcher. She added, what they have never faced before is an opponent who uses their own methods against them. President Sullivan made the decision that would define humanity's future in the galaxy. Let them come to Earth, we will be ready. Across human space, the trap was being set. The Council was gathering the largest fleet in galactic history, over 10,000 ships from every member species. It would take them 3 weeks to organize. That was exactly the time humanity needed. On Mars, Colonel Jack Ryan activated the Heimdall Defense Network. This was a grid of orbital weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites and space debris. Each platform could cripple a dozen Council ships. In Earth's oceans, submarine carriers surfaced to receive targeting data. Then they submerged again. If the Council broke through orbital defenses, they would find Earth's surface just as deadly. Captain Nicole Hayes now commanded the upgraded Valiant. She led a squadron in hit-and-run attacks on Council supply lines. Remember, we are not trying to win these fights, she told her pilots. We are making them bleed, making them angry, making them commit to the big attack. Her squadron hit a Council supply depot in the Rigel system. They destroyed half the facilities with precise missile strikes. Then they vanished into hyperspace before help arrived. 3 days later, they hit a shipyard, then a fuel station, then a command relay. Each attack was calculated for military damage and psychological effect. The Council species had grown soft. They felt secure in their superiority. Now they learned to look over their shoulders. On the Council flagship Eternal Dominion, Fleet Master Zekthor received reports of the human raids. His fury grew with each report. These insects dare to strike at us? When we reach Earth, I will personally watch their cities burn. His intelligence officer was named Felmar. He was cautious. Fleet Master, the humans are trying to make us angry. They want us to act rashly. Every analysis suggests, Zekthor roared. I do not need analysis. I need results. Move up our schedule. We leave for Earth in 1 week. This was exactly what Admiral Cole had predicted. The human fleet positioned itself between Earth and the most likely approach for the Council Armada. 2,000 ships formed defensive shells around their homeworld. Every vessel humanity could gather was there. It looked impressive, but they were still outnumbered 5-1. Commander Jake Morrison was now promoted to Admiral. He commanded the entire defensive operation. He addressed the fleet. In a few days, we faced the largest military force in galactic history. They expect us to be afraid. They expect us to surrender. They do not understand that every human on these ships carries the legacy of 10,000 generations who refused to give up when the odds were against them. On Earth, cities evacuated to underground shelters. But the planet was far from defenseless. Lieutenant Amy Carter coordinated planetary defense. She watched as the final weapons came online. Sir, all ground-based mass drivers are ready. Orbital minefields are active. Drone swarms are ready for launch. Morrison asked, how many drones? Carter smiled. 200,000, sir. Each one carries a nuclear warhead. The Council's defenses will never stop them all. The Council fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 10,000 vessels appeared, blocking out the stars. It was a massive formation representing the military might of an entire galaxy. Fleet Master Zekthor opened communications. He expected surrender. Humans, you are surrounded and outnumbered. Power down your ships and prepare to be boarded. If you resist, we will destroy your planet completely. Admiral Morrison's response was broadcast on every channel. Fleet Master, you made a long journey to find your grave. Humanity does not surrender, and you are about to learn why we are the only species in the galaxy that writes songs about our last stands. Zekthor replied coldly. Then you will die as fools. All ships advance. Show them the price of defiance. As the Council fleet began its attack, Morrison gave the order that launched the most important battle in human history. All ships execute Plan Thermopylae. Make them pay for every meter. The space around Earth erupted in fire and destruction. The Council fleet moved forward in waves. Their tactics were traditional and designed to overwhelm through superior firepower. Energy beams crossed space in brilliant displays of destruction. Plasma torpedoes streaked toward human positions. It was meant to inspire fear and awe. Instead, it exposed every weakness humanity had studied for 15 years. Commander Alex Turner sat at his tactical station on the Valiant. First wave entering optimal range. Deploying countermeasures now. The orbital minefields activated. These were not normal explosive mines. They generated massive electromagnetic pulses. Council ships relied on electronics that had not changed for thousands of years. The pulses fried their systems. Hundreds of vessels went dark. They drifted helplessly as backup systems struggled to activate. Admiral Morrison commanded, "Second wave, fire at will." Earth's fleet ignored the disabled ships. They targeted the vessels moving to help them instead. Railgun rounds punched through shields made for energy weapons. Missile swarms exploited gaps in the enemy formation. In the first 10 minutes, the Council lost over 800 ships, but they kept coming. Fleet Master Zekthora watched his losses grow. He finally began to understand. They have studied us. They know exactly how we fight. His tactical officer pulled up combat data. Fleet Master, humans have only been in space for 30 years, but their military history goes back thousands of years. They have been fighting each other with increasingly advanced weapons since before we achieved spaceflight. They are not technologically advanced. They are experienced in war. A Council battlecruiser exploded when a railgun round hit its reactor. Another lost control when a missile destroyed its engines. A third ship collided with its neighbor while dodging. Both erupted in flames. Zekthora ordered, "Push through." "We still have more ships. Concentrate all fire on their flagship." The Eternal Dominion led the charge. Its massive weapons focused on the Valiant. Energy beams hammered Morrison's shields. Plasma torpedoes exploded against the hull. Damage reports came from every section of the ship, Commander Turner reported. His voice stayed steady even as the ship shook. Shield generators 3 and 5 are offline. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12. Casualties reported from engineering. Morrison gripped his command chair as another attack hit. Reroute power from non-essential systems to forward shields. Navigation, take us into their formation. Lieutenant Karen Walsh was at navigation. She looked uncertain. "Sir?" Morrison repeated, "You heard me. If they want to kill us, let's make them work for it at close range." The Valiant accelerated straight toward the Council fleet. Her weapons fired continuously. At close range, the massive size of Council ships became a problem. Their weapons could not track a smaller, faster target maneuvering around them. The Valiant's railguns tore through engines and weapon systems at ranges where shields were weaker. Other human ships followed Morrison's example. The organized battle became chaotic fighting where human speed and maneuverability mattered more than Council firepower. On Earth's surface, the second phase of defense activated. Dr. Lisa Chen had spent 5 years developing weapons the Council never imagined. Launching surface-to-orbit platforms now. Massive railguns buried in mountains and hidden in polar ice opened fire. Unlike ship-based weapons limited by power, these ground installations drew on planetary energy grids. Their projectiles traveled at speeds that made even space railguns look slow. A Council dreadnought considered unsinkable took a ground-launched round in the middle. The kinetic energy was so massive that the ship simply came apart. It was torn to pieces by forces its structure was never designed to handle. Fleetmaster Zekthora watched his fleet dying. He made a choice that broke Council military rules. All ships weapons-free. If we cannot capture Earth, we will destroy it. Charge planetary bombardment weapons. This was the tactic of last resort. It violated every Council treaty and principle. But Zekthora no longer cared about principles. He wanted humanity erased from existence. Admiral Morrison saw the Council ships moving into position for orbital bombardment. They are going to destroy the planet's surface. All ships intercept pattern Omega. We have to stop them from getting firing positions. But there were too many Council ships and too few human vessels. Some would get through no matter what. That was when the final element of humanity's defense revealed itself. Lieutenant Amy Carter activated the drone swarms. 200,000 small craft launched from hidden facilities across Earth and the Moon. Each drone was small, cheap, and carried a single nuclear warhead. The swarm rose from the planet like a cloud. Council defense systems were designed to target smart missiles and torpedoes. They struggled to track so many small objects moving erratically. The drones did not need to be smart. They just needed to reach their targets. The first wave hit the Council fleet like a hammer. Nuclear explosions rippled through their formations. Ships already weakened by railgun fire and conventional missiles broke apart. The organized bombardment pattern dissolved into chaos as captains broke formation to defend themselves. Commander Turner reported, "Their fleet organization is collapsing. Remaining vessels are beginning to retreat." But Fleetmaster Zekthora refused to accept defeat. His flagship was damaged but still had enough power to devastate a planet. If we fall, humanity falls with us. Charge the main cannon. Target their largest population center. The Eternal Dominion's primary weapon began to glow. It built up enough energy to crack a tectonic plate and trigger volcanic eruptions across an entire continent. Admiral Morrison saw the threat. "Valiant, emergency acceleration. Set ramming course for the Eternal Dominion." Commander Turner protested. "Sir, we will never survive impact," Morrison answered grimly. "The billion people in North America will not survive if that ship fires. All hands abandon ship. You have 90 seconds. Throughout the Valiant, escape pods began launching. Morrison stayed on the bridge with a skeleton crew of volunteers. Officers who refused to leave their posts. Lieutenant Karen Walsh remained at navigation. Commander Turner stayed at tactical. Captain Nicole Hayes, who had transferred to the Valiant as executive officer, stood beside Morrison. She said quietly, "It has been an honor." "Admiral," Morrison replied, "the honor was mine." "Captain." The Valiant pushed her engines beyond their limits. She accelerated to ramming speed. Council weapons tore into the ship, but her momentum could not be stopped. Secondary explosions rippled along the hull. Life support failed. The bridge filled with smoke and the sounds of dying systems. At the last second, Morrison triggered every remaining weapon. Every explosive. Every power cell on the ship. The Valiant struck the Eternal Dominion not as a ship, but as a missile carrying the fury of a species that refused to die quietly. The explosion could be seen from Earth's surface. A new sun bloomed in orbit. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Only expanding clouds of debris remained. The death of their fleetmaster broke the Council's will. The surviving ships, fewer than 2,000 now, fled toward hyperspace. Human vessels pursued them to the edge of the system. The retreat became a complete rout. In the aftermath, Earth's orbital space was filled with wreckage. Both human and alien debris floated everywhere. The price of victory had been terrible. 800 human ships destroyed. Over 200,000 casualties. But Earth remained free. President Sullivan stood in the command center looking at the casualty reports. Admiral Cole stood beside him. "They will come again," Cole said. "This is not over." Sullivan shook his head. "No, this is over. They threw everything at us and lost. Now we dictate terms. 3 months passed. The Galactic Council chambers were a different place now. The arrogant certainty was gone. The casual assumption of superiority had vanished. In its place was fear, confusion, and something the Council species had not felt in thousands of years. Respect. Supreme Chancellor Mordak addressed an assembly that had shrunk. 6 species had withdrawn from the Council completely. They chose neutrality rather than risk humanity's anger. Another 12 were reconsidering their membership. The protocol officer announced, "The human delegation has arrived." The doors opened. President Andrew Sullivan entered. Admiral Richard Cole walked beside him. Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison was there too. He had survived the destruction of the Valiant. His crew had forcibly put him in an escape pod in the final moments. Sullivan walked to the center of the chamber with confidence. His species had just changed galactic power forever. He did not bow. He showed no deference. He simply stood and waited for the council to speak. Supreme Chancellor Mordak began speaking. His crystalline form pulsed with carefully neutral colors. "President Sullivan, we have gathered to discuss terms of peace." Sullivan interrupted him. "No, we are not here to discuss peace. We are here to dictate terms." Shocked sounds rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Kyleth of the Vryn Collective rose in protest. "You dare speak to the council with such—" Sullivan cut him off. "Such honesty?" "Yes, I do. You declared war on humanity. You threatened our colonies, our people, our freedom you lost. Now you will live with the consequences." Admiral Cole stepped forward. He projected a holographic display. "Our terms are simple. First, all council species will recognize human control over our current territory. This includes Proxima Centauri, Kepler, and 12 other systems where we have colonies." Another council member objected. "Impossible. Those systems fall within established territorial boundaries," Morrison interrupted. "Boundaries you never settled, never developed. You claimed them only to prevent others from using them. Your claims are void. Those worlds are ours now," Cole continued speaking. "Second, the council will establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth as equals. No more client species status. No more probationary periods. Full membership or we go our own way," Sullivan concluded. "And third, the council will open trade relations on fair terms. No more restricting technology. No more limiting our access to markets. You will compete with us openly, or you will lose those markets to human industry." Mordak's light flickered between colors. This showed internal conflict. "And if we refuse these demands?" Sullivan smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Then we continue what you started. We have already proven we can defeat your fleets. How long do you think your member species will stay loyal when they realize you cannot protect them?" The threat hung in the air. Several council members began arguing among themselves. The carefully maintained unity of galactic civilization was breaking apart. Finally, Ambassador Kyleth spoke. His tone was resigned. "The humans have proven their point. We accept these terms," Sullivan added. "Not quite all of them. There is one more condition. Captain Linda Martinez, please step forward." The former colony director of Proxima entered the chamber. With her were representatives from 6 other species. The council had previously forced these species into subordinate roles through threats similar to those used against humanity. Martinez spoke clearly. "The council has spent thousands of years maintaining order through fear. You crushed anyone who challenged you. You forced developing species into inferior positions. You justified it as maintaining stability. That ends now." She gestured to the representatives beside her. "These species are under Earth's protection now. Any threat against them is a threat against humanity. You will negotiate with them as equals, or you will negotiate with us." The chamber erupted in protests. This went too far. It violated every principle of council hierarchy. But beneath the outrage was the knowledge that they had no choice. Admiral Morrison stepped forward. His presence commanded silence. "Look at yourselves. You spent thousands of years believing you were the best civilization, that your way was the only way. You grew stagnant, complacent. You forgot that the galaxy does not care about your sense of superiority." He activated his own display. It showed footage from the Battle of Earth. "You want to know why you lost? Because while you rested on ancient achievements, we were evolving. Every war we fought taught us lessons. Every weapon we developed pushed our technology forward. You had thousands of years of advancement, and we beat you anyway because you stopped advancing." The images shifted. They showed human colonies under construction, new ships being built, research facilities developing technologies the Council had never imagined. "This is just the beginning. In 10 years, we will match your technology. In 20, we will surpass it. You can either work with us as partners or you can watch as we leave you behind." Supreme Chancellor Mordak dimmed his light. For his species, this was a gesture of acceptance. "The Council agrees to your terms. We will establish formal relations. We will recognize your territorial claims. We will open our markets to human trade," Sullivan pressed him. "And the protected species?" Mordak confirmed reluctantly. They will be granted independent status. Sullivan nodded. Then we have an agreement. Earth will establish embassies on Council worlds. We expect Council ambassadors on Earth within 1 month. We will also send observers to Council sessions to ensure our interests are represented. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Ambassador Kyleth approached Sullivan quietly. President Sullivan, you should know something. Not all Council species are pleased with this outcome. Some will seek revenge when they see weakness. Sullivan met the ambassador's gaze directly. Let them try. We have spent 10,000 years learning how to deal with enemies. The difference between humanity and the Council is simple. We remember our lessons. 6 months passed. Human ships became a common sight in Council space. Trade flowed in both directions. Human innovation and adaptability quickly made Earth a major economic power. The protected species flourished under their new freedom. Several of them formed close alliances with humanity. On Earth, President Sullivan stood in the new Interstellar Relations Center. He watched ships come and go from orbital platforms. Admiral Cole joined him at the window. Cole remarked, "Some of the Council species are calling us the new rulers. They are afraid we will do to them what they did to others." Sullivan shook his head. "We are not interested in ruling the galaxy. We are interested in making sure no one can threaten us again." "There is a difference," Cole asked. "And if they do not see it that way?" Sullivan answered, "Then we will remind them as many times as necessary. Humanity did not ask for this fight, but we finished it. Across the galaxy, a new era was beginning. The Council species were learning to coexist with a species that refused to be contained or controlled. Some adapted well. They found in humanity a worthy partner. Others nursed their anger and plotted for a future where they might regain their lost power. But in the halls of Earth's military academies, young officers studied the Battle of Earth. They learned the lesson that would define humanity's place among the stars. Never start a fight with someone who has more to lose than you do. Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison served as Earth's Chief of Naval Operations now. He gave a speech to the graduating class. The Council thought we were weak because we were young. They thought our lack of ancient history meant we lacked strength. They did not understand that every species that ever threatened humanity learned the same hard truth. We do not need thousands of years of civilization to know how to fight. We just need a reason." He looked at the young faces before him. These were the future defenders of Earth and her colonies. "The galaxy is vast. We have only just begun to explore it. You will face challenges we cannot imagine. You will encounter species we have not met. You will forge alliances we cannot predict. But remember the lesson of this war. Humanity's strength is not in our weapons or our ships. It is in our refusal to accept defeat, our ability to adapt, our willingness to stand together when everything is on the line." The cadets rose as one. Their voices echoed through the hall. "We stand together." In a distant part of the galaxy, a council member named Thelvas met secretly with others who shared his views. "The humans humiliated us. They destroyed our fleet. They forced us to accept their terms. But they are still young, still vulnerable in ways they do not yet understand." Another member, a being of pure energy named Kickstar, agreed. "They rely on their adaptability and aggression. But every strength has a corresponding weakness. We need only find it." Thelvas displayed star charts. "The humans are expanding rapidly. Too rapidly. They are spreading themselves thin. Their supply lines are long. Their colonies are isolated. If we strike at the right moment in the right way, we can sever their empire before it truly forms." A third member spoke. This was Zelkor, whose species specialized in biological warfare. Direct military confrontation clearly fails against them. But there are other ways to wage war. Ways that do not involve fleets and weapons. Ways they may not be prepared for. Thelvas nodded. "Exactly. We will be patient. We will watch. We will learn. And when the opportunity comes, we will show these upstart humans that the Council does not forget. We do not forgive. And we will have our revenge." But their conversation was being monitored. Lieutenant Sam Walker's intelligence network had not been idle in the months since the war ended. Every secret meeting, every whispered plot, every hint of renewed aggression was recorded and analyzed. Walker presented his findings to Admiral Cole. "Sir, there are elements within the Council who refuse to accept the new order. They are planning something. We do not have details yet, but the pattern is clear." Cole studied the reports. "Keep monitoring them. Double our intelligence assets in Council space, and make sure our forces remain ready. The Council learned one lesson from the war. We need to make sure they learn it well. When you fight humanity, you lose. Walker nodded and left. Cole looked out at the stars and thought about the future. Humanity had won its first major conflict with alien species. They had earned their place at the galactic table through strength and sacrifice. The threat would always be there, lurking in the shadows of galactic politics, and humanity would need to remain vigilant. On the human colony world of New Terra, Governor Ben Carter oversaw the construction of new defensive installations. The colony was only 5 years old but already home to 80,000 people. It represented humanity's future among the stars. But it also represented a target. Carter met with Colonel Sarah Mitchell, the military commander for the system. "How are the defenses coming along?" Mitchell pulled up a holographic display. "We have orbital platforms in place. Ground-based railguns are operational. Sensor networks cover the entire system. If anyone tries what the Council did at Proxima, they will regret it." Carter nodded but looked concerned. "The Council is not stupid. They will not try the same tactic twice." "What about other threats? Sabotage, infiltration, biological weapons?" Mitchell's expression became serious. "We are working on those scenarios. But I will be honest, Governor. We are better prepared for open warfare than we are for covert operations. That is something we need to address." This conversation was happening on colony worlds throughout human space. The military victory had been decisive, but it had also revealed gaps in humanity's defenses. The Council had thousands of years of experience in subtle manipulation, political intrigue, and covert warfare. Humanity was learning, but they were still students in this arena. On Earth, President Sullivan faced similar concerns from his advisors. Dr. Lisa Chen presented a briefing on potential threats. "Mr. President, our intelligence suggests the Council may be shifting strategies. They cannot defeat us in open battle, but they have other tools." Sullivan listened carefully. "What kind of tools?" Chen displayed various scenarios. Biological weapons tailored to human genetics. Economic manipulation through their control of certain rare resources. Political subversion of our allies. Psychological warfare designed to create fear and division among our colonies. General Patrick Hayes added his thoughts. "We also need to consider the long game. The Council thinks in terms of centuries. They may be willing to wait a generation or two before making their next move. By then they hope we will have grown complacent, forgotten the lessons of the war." Sullivan stood and looked at the map showing human expansion across the galaxy. "Then we need to make sure we never forget. Never grow complacent. This war taught us that we can win against superior numbers and technology. But it also taught us that we have enemies who will not give up simply because they lost one battle." He turned to his advisors. "I want increased funding for intelligence operations. I want every colony to have proper defenses. I want our research into new technologies to continue at full speed. And I want regular war games to keep our military sharp." Admiral Cole spoke up. "Mr. President, there is another consideration. The 6 species we placed under our protection. They see us as their defenders now. But that also makes us responsible for their safety. If the Council targets them to hurt us, we need to be ready to respond." Sullivan nodded. "Agreed. Extend our defense networks to include their territories. Make it clear to the Council that attacking our allies is the same as attacking Earth." Across the galaxy, the species under human protection were indeed prospering. The Kalari, a peaceful species that had been forced into servitude by the Council, now governed themselves freely. Their representative, Velana, met with human ambassador Peter Clark on their homeworld. Velana expressed her gratitude. "Ambassador Clark, your people gave us something we thought lost forever: hope, freedom, the ability to determine our own future." Clark smiled. "We simply gave you what every species deserves. But I need to be honest with you. Protecting you makes you a target. The Council may try to use you to get to us." Velana's expression became determined. "We understand the risks. We also understand that freedom is worth fighting for. You taught us that. If the Council comes, we will not surrender meekly. We have learned from watching humanity. Sometimes you must stand and fight no matter the odds." This sentiment was echoed among all the protected species. Humanity's example had inspired them. The Council had ruled through fear for so long that many species had forgotten they could resist. Now they remembered. Back in the Council chambers, the secret faction continued their plotting. Delvas had gathered more support. Nearly a third of the council members now attended his clandestine meetings. He addressed them with passion. The humans and their allies grow stronger every day. If we wait too long, they will become unstoppable. We must act soon. Zelkor presented his plan. I have developed a biological agent. It is specifically designed to target human genetics. It spreads slowly, shows no symptoms for weeks, then strikes suddenly. By the time they realize what is happening, millions will be infected. Another member, a military commander named Drexal, added his contribution. While they are dealing with the plague, we strike at their most isolated colonies. Not with fleets, but with small groups of elite soldiers. We make it look like piracy, random attacks. Nothing that can be traced back to the council. Thelvas nodded approvingly. Good. We also need to target their economy. The humans rely on trade with several key species. If we can pressure those species to cut ties with Earth, it will hurt them badly. Kickstar, the energy being, offered one more suggestion. Do not forget psychological warfare. Spread rumors of human aggression. Make the neutral species fear them. Turn public opinion against them. Even if we cannot defeat them militarily, we can isolate them politically. The plan was comprehensive and devious. If it worked, it could undermine everything humanity had achieved without firing a single shot in open battle. But Thelvas and his followers had made one critical mistake. They underestimated human intelligence capabilities. Lieutenant Sam Walker had agents embedded throughout council space. Some were human operatives using advanced disguises. Others were aliens sympathetic to humanity. A few were advanced artificial intelligences that could pass as living beings. One of these agents attended Thelvas's meetings. Everything was recorded and transmitted back to Earth. Walker presented the intelligence to Admiral Cole and President Sullivan. They are planning a multi-pronged attack. Biological warfare, military strikes, economic pressure, and propaganda. It is sophisticated and dangerous. Sullivan looked grim. Can we stop it? Walker nodded. Yes, but we need to act carefully. If we expose their plot too openly, they will know we have penetrated their security. Better to counter each element quietly while preparing our own response, Cole agreed. We can inoculate our population against the biological agent once we know its composition. We can reinforce the vulnerable colonies. We can strengthen our economic ties with friendly species, and we can launch our own information campaign. Sullivan made the decision. Do it, but also prepare a more direct response. If they want to play dirty, we will show them that humans invented dirty fighting. Over the next few months, humanity moved in secret. Scientists worked around the clock to develop vaccines and treatments for the biological weapon. Military units were quietly repositioned to defend isolated colonies. Diplomatic teams strengthened relationships with trading partners, and Earth's intelligence services prepared their own covert operations. When Thelvas finally launched his plan, he was confident of success. The biological agent was released on 3 human colony worlds. Small military forces struck at remote outposts. Economic pressure began to build. Propaganda spread through neutral species. For a brief moment, it seemed to be working. Then everything fell apart for the conspirators. The biological agent failed. Humans on the affected worlds had already been vaccinated. Instead of a plague, the Council's weapon accomplished nothing. Worse, human scientists traced its origin back to Council laboratories. The military strikes encountered prepared defenses. What should have been easy targets turned into deadly traps. The Council's elite soldiers found themselves facing humans who knew they were coming. Few of the attackers survived. The economic pressure backfired. Species that the Council tried to pressure came to Earth with recordings of the threats they had received. They chose human friendship over Council intimidation. And the propaganda campaign became a disaster when human intelligence released evidence of the Council's plotting. Neutral species were horrified to learn that the Council was planning biological warfare and false flag operations. Thelvas watched his carefully constructed plan collapse in real time. How did they know? How could they possibly have known? The answer came when Ambassador Peter Clark presented evidence to the full Galactic Council in an open session. Members of this council, including Thelvas, Zelkor, Drexal, and Kickstar, have been plotting attacks against humanity and our allies. We have complete recordings of their meetings, evidence of their biological weapons program, and proof of their military operations. He played the recordings for everyone to hear. The conspirators' own words condemned them. Supreme Chancellor Mordak was forced to act. These members have violated council law and galactic peace. They are hereby expelled from the council and will face trial for their crimes. But President Sullivan was not finished. He addressed the council one final time. This attack, this betrayal, shows that some among you will never,